Oh, we're getting funky today. It's a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
The Birds are still Super Bowl champs.
That's right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your hosts, Dominic Dougherty and Drew Fasy.
And we are your local guys.
That's right, Drew. This is the last time we can say that the Eagles are Super Bowl champions for at least one more season. It sounds like all the turmoil around the team is getting itself straightened out, just as much as everything here in Ocean City is getting itself straightened out. So
I have faith in both.
Good for you, because when you lose a guy like Jeff Stoutland, and you got two All-Pro offensive linemen saying they're considering retiring. One of them who should consider retirement because, he's one of the greatest of all time, but he's just been plagued with injuries for so long at this point that, you can do it. The other one, though, is still young. Unfortunately, though, his body's just been, through the ringer the past couple of years. And, he plays hurt all the time. I mean, that dude, he'll go off with, you look like, oh, dude, that dude's not coming back for the rest of the season. And 10 minutes later, he's back on the field. We're talking about Landon Dickerson here and Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson, you don't know Philadelphia anything, buddy. You've given them everything. Landon, you don't either. And, if you walked away, I would completely understand why, because, you're a young guy and you want to be able to continue to do all the cool stuff you do with your wife on social media, your DIY projects and all that. So, I get it. And again, you don't know Philadelphia anything either, as far as I'm concerned. But who does owe some people some stuff, as far as I'm concerned. The Boardwalk Subcommittee owes Ocean City some stuff.
Okay, let's get into that. So, on October 9th at the city council meeting, Council President Crowley announced the formation of a subcommittee with the stated goal to conduct a comprehensive, data-driven study of the boardwalk's commercial zoning and provide a vision for its future. And they were
now
on 6th to 14th Street.
Yes, I was going to say that. If you don't know, the first 5 minutes of the meeting was explaining that the commercial zone is from 6th Street to 14th Street. That was the first 5 minutes of the presentation.
The committee was
maybe 10.
Made up of Councilman Dave Winslow, who was the chair, Councilman and Boardwalk business owner Jody Levchuk, Councilman Sean Barnes, City Administration member Michael Allegretto, Builder and Planning Board member Dean Adams, Architect and Planning Board member Shannon Halliday, business owner and Boardwalk Merchants Association president Wes Kasmark, anti-hotel community group Ocean City 2050.
Hey! No, anti-hotel community group.
Well, that's what they are.
They are not anti-hotel. Because there is a hotel in their actual plan. So I would say mixed use application is more of what 2050 is. And I'm being fair to them.
They don't have a plan.
They had a Wonderland Commons.
Yeah, so. Where's that? The property's up for sale. It's time. We talked about this.
We did, but we can't say anti-hotel because they are not anti-hotel. They do believe that there should be some sort of lodging there. But anyway, let's keep going. I'm just trying to.
Ocean City 2050 member Jim Kelly.
We're trying to be unbiased here, Drew, and that's something that's seemed to miss the point with a lot of things really recently. So let's try and stay down the middle.
And the school board member and the spokesperson of the committee, Jocelyn Polaganis.
Okay.
So the presentation, you and I were both there. They broke down the data into 11 segments. They inventoried the boardwalk. They went through the current zoning map and the criteria. They when they did the inventory, there was 168 businesses, 92 of which are food, 51 are retail, and 25 are entertainment. Then they went through the hotel data. They went through the Ocean City parking lot data, the beach tag revenue, the sales tax revenue. They used the amusement park data, and they used the 7 parks on the Jersey shore, and then they went inland and used other New Jersey amusement parks. They brought in a 2010 study that was conducted by Rutgers University students. They did stakeholder interviews, and then they did community comparisons, similar as best they could communities. Then they gave their takeaways, and that was the conclusion of phase 1. So the announcement to be formed was on October 9th. I believe their first meeting was the first week in November, and here the first week of February, they completed and presented phase 1. There are 3 additional phases, with the final stage being a recommendation to council in the late May timeframe.
No, so early spring. That they did say that numerous times. Early spring would be their recommendation, possibly sooner.
Actually, Dave Winslow yesterday said late
so he
May,
changed it,
possibly sooner.
So he changed it to, because in the beginning it was all early spring.
Yes,
early spring.
It was.
At the end of it must have been at the end of the presentation that they said late May, which I would consider more late spring, not early spring. Early spring would be April sometime. So
agreed.
Yeah, it was so I for those of you that know, I'm practicing my 6-second sacred pause here and how I want to frame my feelings towards this presentation. First off, I want to say this. There have been numerous comments that we, and myself in particular, am pro-hotel. And I think there's many frustrating things around this situation and around this property. And I think one of the bigger frustrations that I have is that everything is so polarized. It's hotel, no hotel. Amusements, hotel. My frustration, and I am not pro-hotel, I'm not anti-amusement. I am pro-progress. I'm pro making a decision and moving forward.
All right, so on that point, let me interrupt you just for a second, Dom. On that point, it's now abundantly clear to everyone who is open-minded enough to listen and to learn that while there could be an amusement component to whatever is developed on that property, it becoming an amusement park is never going to happen. I'll say it louder and slower for the people in the back who are not paying attention or don't want to hear it. It's never going to be exclusively an amusement park. That's done. That's over. The coffin is shut. All right. So everybody has to get on that page at this point. You have to, because anybody paying attention and anybody listening knows that clearly. It's never going to be exclusively an amusement park. Wonderland is gone.
So,
All right, so go ahead, Dom.
Again, I'm pro progress and pro moving this forward.
As am I.
Because you have the largest portion of land on the boardwalk sitting vacant and empty. As a community, business owners, residents, we need to know what's going to happen there. And we need to make a decision about what's going to happen there that can, I agree with the stakeholders in that we have to maintain our identity as a family-friendly community. When we talk about, and to kind of go into where you segued off to there, the data and possibly the only, I shouldn't say the only, the most informative data that was brought forth in that presentation was the amusement park data brought forth by Councilman Lovechuck, because that is a data set that isn't really skewable. There's not a lot of other variables that play into how many amusement parks. It's concrete, if you will. And the thing that stuck out to me was that all of these parks are family owned and operated. There's no corporate Six Flags or anything like that trying to come in and open amusements along the Jersey Shore. And the last one opened almost 42 years ago. So let's think about that. If you bought your home in 1984, you'd have a pretty nice little home equity line of credit then right now, you could say.
Well, keep in
especially
mind,
if you bought a beachfront home.
Yeah.
So
and keep in mind, as part of that, this committee brought in the executive director of the Northeast Regional, I forget the name of it, Amusement Association. She's been in the job for 20 years, and it's her job, right, to support amusements. And I think she made it pretty clear that this parcel in this state at this time can't work as an amusement park. It will not work. And I think she convinced the committee members of that.
So,
which is one of the reasons I made my earlier statement.
So then there was a lot of other data that was brought forth, like parking lot revenue. And in particular, the parking lot at 5th Street was down 40% from 2024 to 2025. Well, you also had Wonderland closing in 2024. So you saw a massive surge of people down there for the last couple months. And then in 2025, you had no Wonderland, and you also had not the best weather for the month of June.
June was awful.
And you included the percentage that lot was down. You did not include the percentage that any other lot was down. Overall, the total number of parks were down. Everything was down in parking throughout the city, all over the place. But yet you single out that lot, and how if anything, that just shows you the vacantness and the emptiness of that space needs to be addressed, because you're losing 40% of revenue. Sales tax was up. Yeah, no duh. Everything costs more. So you're going to have a higher sales tax. You brought to the table one weekend in 2025's worth of hotel data. If you can't get data for a whole over a wide set, then use older data. So at least you have a fair comparison.
Yeah, there was actually two pieces of
there was numbers of hotel rooms and things of that nature. And then the occupancy rates for Memorial Day weekend 2025.
Yeah, that probably should not have been included, in my opinion.
I'm gonna say this.
And then you look at the number of hotel rooms. So I was looking at comparing Ocean City with Cape May. They are roughly between half and 2/3 the size of Ocean City, and yet they have twice as many hotel rooms. That I thought was interesting.
I think the biggest thing, and one of the takeaways that I took away from all of this, when you talk about towns that have amusements, because let's try and compare apples to apples, towns that have amusements and towns that don't have amusements. All of the other towns allow alcohol and games of chance. And those are things that we're just not going to do because that's not part of our brand. And those are not things, personally, I think we should allow some games of chance on the boardwalk. That's my opinion. I think shooting a basketball to try and win a stuffed animal isn't a big deal. That's my opinion. All right. And you can say that. Alcohol, no, I don't want bars all along the boardwalk, and I don't want BYOB on the boardwalk. Even then, it's hard to compare the two towns because.
Well, I think the point that was missed by some of the people in the audience of why that was brought up, the games of chance and the alcohol. I believe that why that was included in their analysis is because, these
That's
these
a huge
parks,
revenue generator.
well, these parks, just like any retail space on the boardwalk, every square inch has to be monetized to survive in a condensed time frame. They're not open year round. They're open during the summer, and the summer's 10 weeks or whatever.
October. You're
So
Memorial Day, maybe
so
sometime in
to
April.
have the alcohol and the games of chance to bring in the revenue is a game changer for the amusement park. I think people mistook why that information was put out there. They were saying that I think they thought that it was being viewed as a negative in the city, in Ocean City. It's not being viewed as a negative. It's a very, very positive. But from an amusement park standpoint, it is a negative because you don't have those revenue
streams.
Yeah,
and it's and to be honest, frankly, I think that makes it hard to compare Ocean City to any of the other towns.
Agreed.
Because you don't have that revenue. And while it hurts the amusement industry, it helps the town overall. And that's why it's so hard to include this data and really look at the data and say, hey, this is good. I worked, prior to my life now, I was a teacher. I worked with this incredibly smart individual, definitely one of the smartest people that I know. And she was an incredible math teacher, so much so that if you look at statistics for kids that take algebra in 8th grade, about 20% of the kids that take algebra in 8th grade pass and don't have to go on to take algebra in high school. Her students were at like an 80% passing rate. So just an incredibly smart math minded individual. And they have a quote, and this is the quote: statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal is interesting, but what they conceal is essential. So let me say that again. Statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal is interesting, but what they conceal is essential. And I think that the subcommittee put on a very nice bikini and had a lot of interesting points made with their flashy bikini, and failed really to look at the essential reasons for the interest here. And that, I think, is
that's an interesting perspective, Dom, because one of the things that I noticed was there was virtually no mention of 600 Boardwalk during the presentation. And that's essentially why the subcommittee was formed, and why everybody was there, yet no
Yeah.
mention of it. There, very little mention of it.
And this kind of just brings me to the second real frustration and the reason that this episode is called the hot potato. It's because every organization just keeps passing this issue back and forth to itself because nobody wants to make the decision that's going to make some people upset. The mind-blowing thing, though, is that it's all the same people passing it back. You're just passing it to yourself over and over and over again. You said it. 3 of the 7 city council members are on this committee. 2 of them are also on the planning board. Like,
One
what?
of them.
What?
One of them.
Winslow is on the planning board too, isn't he?
No. There's only one council representative on the planning board and the zoning board.
So, like, you just keep passing it, but still, but the planning board and the zoning, the subcommittee and the planning board had many similar, members in common.
There's 3, but
yeah, but
2 lay people.
You're still just passing it back and forth and passing it back and forth, and not making a decision here. And I feel that what needs to be done, and what should have been done in the very beginning, and it goes back to some of the reasons why Councilman Barnes and his planning board decision voted no. There should have been some sort of true north established. There should have been some sort of, hey, this is the direction that we're going. Now, the city has a master plan and all that stuff. I don't know where that is in all of this, because that's the one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about is, what's the master plan? What does this look like? Like, maybe I'm missing that. Maybe I missed that whole point. But like,
so
I
think that you're frustrated. You were frustrated before we started, and you're clearly frustrated now. And in talking to people who are not really who are stakeholders, right? In one way or another, and just the public in general, the residents of Ocean City. If you talk to people, I think there is an overall frustration that the park has been closed now for 15, 16, 17 months, and that's a negative in and of itself, having that big property sitting vacant. And you hear from all the merchants on the boardwalk close by there, right? And the parking lot, it's a drain not having any forward progress, right? Because we really haven't, even after the presentation yesterday, we haven't made any real forward progress on 600 Boardwalk, on what's going to happen to that property, right? And
yeah,
I think
so.
And so that's hot potato, and everybody's frustrated by it. And you want to talk about the master plan? If a master plan review takes several years, okay, the subcommittee are going to finish in May. We're not sure that the current owner is going to be the owner in May. He's made it very clear that he'd like to do what he does, which is build a luxury hotel. He's done a lot of remodels. I get that, but he wants to build a luxury hotel on this parcel, and believes it's a very positive thing for the city, a very positive thing for tourism, a very positive thing for the boardwalk. And yet he's getting all this resistance. And he's to the point where he's saying, look, it's now or never. If you don't do something, I'm walking. And you have these, the conspiracy theorists who will say, oh, he's bluffing. He's trying to manipulate the council. Well, he's got a property down in Wildwood Crest where the same thing happened, and that's sitting vacant. So I don't think the guy's bluffing, and he gives me no reason to believe that he is bluffing. So the question is, are we okay with that property sitting as is for a very long time? Can we accept the worst possible outcome? Is that something we can accept, which is that property sitting vacant for a very long time? Or do we do the unpleasant and make a decision? And, I was thinking about, Dom, I don't know if you were around for this, but this reminds me very much. And I did a little research to jog my memory. So in 1986, the voters of Ocean City put the repealing of the blue laws on a referendum, November 1986, same year that I think Hurricane Gloria hit, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it was controversial. It was contentious, and the proponents, which ironically were the Merchants Association, argued that it was necessary for the local economy. Okay, it was necessary for the local economy to lift the blue laws. The opponents were afraid that it would destroy the feel of the town, the Christian seaside resort atmosphere, and it would lead to the eventual sale of alcohol. Sounds familiar, right? Not exact, but pretty close. So here we are, exactly 40 years later, and the island's okay. We're doing pretty good. There's no alcohol sales. We're still a Christian-based community with no games of chance and no alcohol and no weed stores, right? So here we are at a similar crossroads. And this is a zoning issue, so it can't go to referendum. So it's up to 7 members of city council. And I know it's a complicated issue. I know it's multi-layered. I know they're getting a lot of pressure from every side. But after 16, 17 months and countless community meetings and conversations and letters to the editor and citizen comment at their meetings, I think it's time that this thing moves forward. Now I say this thing. I'm not saying the hotel. I'm with you. I'm not neither anti or pro hotel. I'm definitely pro progress. So if they're not going to put it into a rehabilitation zone, and Mead is going to walk, Mr. Mead is going to walk because of that, then they should do it. If they are going to put it in a rehabilitation zone, then they should do it. In my mind, I can't see any reason why we have waited this long. I just don't understand it. And if it's a matter of, well, we need to make sure that he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and Mr. Mita is a matter of, well, I need X, Y, and Z, then, get in a room. I mean, Chuck Bangle said it. Get in a room and figure it out. I agree with him. Get in a room and figure it out. And it's not a backroom deal. It's getting together, and Mr. Mita wants 9 stories, right? And everybody in that neighborhood is like,
Seven.
No, 9. It's 9.
He wants 9. I thought he wanted 7.
No, he wants 9. And the people in that neighborhood think that's too high. And maybe it is. They would like 4. But he's got to build something that's going to survive, right? He's got to have, there is no alcohol sales, so the revenue stream are the rooms. So he's got to have enough rooms to survive. Worst thing that can happen is
he can have banquets. He can have rent.
Well, I'm not saying but he's not selling alcohol at the banquets either, right?
So
wait, let me finish. So what could work? Now there's a certain segment of people that won't be happy with anything. But what if he said, the city said, we want 4. And he said, I can't make it work at 4. I need 8. We're not going to allow you 8. How about 6? All right, we'll compromise at 6 or 7 or whatever. Get it done. Or, no, we don't want it. And everybody move on. He sells the property, and then city fights with George Norcross for the next 5 years.
That's not a fight. That's a slaughter.
Yeah, it would be.
We're not the ones that are on the right side of that.
Are we willing to accept that? Because that's the outcome.
No, I agree with you, and I agree with what Chuck said. Like, there has to be some sort of concession on both sides at this point. Like, there needs to be a clearer picture of what is going to be put there, because right now the only thing that we've seen is an artist rendering, and it looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Let's talk some broad strokes here. Let's look at at a 10,000 foot view. Hey, if you get this, here's what we're willing to concede to. Can you do it with this? Here's this. Can you do this? That type of thing.
Right. We need an amusement component. It has to be an amusement component.
I thought
more than X number of stores.
I've been thinking about this obviously for a while, and this is my official Dominic Dougherty take as to what should be done with that property.
I'm on pins and needles waiting for this one, Dom.
This is like the city should look at this as Ocean City building a stadium, whereas like Philadelphia or a major city would build a new stadium for their football team. We should look at that. This is what we're going to do here. We're going to build a stadium. We're going to build an anchor not only for the north end of the boardwalk, we're going to build an anchor for our town. Because if we're at this crossroads and we have someone that's willing to put up some cash, a substantial amount of cash, then let's maximize that effort. Why are we trying to put it down or inhibit this or looking at this as a negative? We should be saying, hey, how can we build onto this? How can we capitalize on all of this? So I say, this is what I think we should do. And this is my opinion. We allow, and this is going to be a lot like what 2050 had to say, except I'm going to blow it up a little bit more. Because I'll state on the record, I think they had a good solution. I think they did. You allow Mr. Mita to build his hotel on what would be considered the south and the west side of the property. So it would be an L-shaped hotel. And you allow him to gradually increase the height. So in that back corner area, you could have 7 or 8 stories in that back corner. But along the strip or along the sides of the property, if you will, let's say this. On the part, sorry, let me start over. On the south side of the property, you can have your high rise. You can have your big portion. Along the back where the neighborhood is, you have to kind of step it down. So maybe you go 4 and 6. So it's not a full high rise in the back. So that neighborhood's still going to get its sun. It's still going to get what it needs. On the bottom floor of the hotel, you have all of your shops and everything. And the So the east and the north and east, the side that faces the boardwalk and the side that faces 6th Street, that's open. And that remains all an area that's open to the public within the hotel property. And he can use that as like the way that Congress Hall uses it in Cape May. He can put a big Christmas tree there. He can have little fire pits for people to come sit around in that area. And you might have some restaurants and some shops on that floor along the boardwalk there. Right? So that's Mr. Mita's portion of it. Here's where the city doubles down. That lot where all the grass, where all the volleyball courts and stuff is right now, we deck that out and we start to build a Santa Monica style pier on 5th Street and extend it out into the ocean. There's no beach at 5th Street. There's never any beach at 5th Street. You're literally dumping millions and millions and millions of dollars of sand onto that beach every 3 years, and every 3 years that's gone. So you build a pier similar to the Santa Monica style pier. So you fill in the area where the volleyball courts is with decking. Keith Hartzell's got a good idea to put a playground there. You put a playground there. You put a band shell. That portion of it where the volleyball courts is would be city controlled, and those would be city type things, free to the people, easy to use, that kind of stuff. Then as you go out into the ocean, that's where you become more privatized. So that's where you can put like the video game center that 2050 talked about, like the technology center, where you can have like esports events, you can have VR, you can have different stuff. You can put some restaurants out there. As you go further down the pier, you can put your bigger thrill rides, if you will, like a slingshot, like they have in Wildwood, where you.
Wait, are you saying this would be city run?
No, the city run part would only be the part where the current volleyball courts are. That would be the only city run part. You'd find another investor. So you have Mita to build the hotels, right? You have Mita to build here. Then you have the city that's going to build the pier, in a sense. The city in a private partnership, we're going to build the pier out, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on the side where the volleyball courts are, that's where you have things that the city would control, like a playground, a band shell, stuff like that. As you go to the other side of the boardwalk, where the 5th Street beach, if you will, currently is, that's where you would start to have the private aspect of it, where someone would own that section of the pier and they would lease it out to different people. Like you could put a new Ferris wheel out there, possibly. You could put a gaming center. You could put one of those slingshot rides where you get clipped in and you get shot up in the air, or like a big swing ride. And then as you go further out, it narrows down, and then you can have fishing, and it's just a place for people that can come walk and enjoy and do something like that. It's basically just doubling down on this development. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Dom, and I'm with you. I think, really supporting the idea and raising it to another level. I'm with you 100%. That would be, the city not only just approve, but support and enhance the whole area, right?
Yeah, like just make the whole area.
And the pier idea, you and I have talked about this before.
Not my idea. I'm going to put that out there. It's by one of my buddies' ideas. But
it's a great idea. Great idea. However, with the 600 boardwalk property, I just can't get behind dictating, what a private property owner can do with their property. So dictating how, the open space and all that. I think it's either you're going to allow him to build or you're not. And if you're going to allow him to build, then he's got to bring his plan, and you negotiate, right? You negotiate. I'm not saying that we let him do what he wants carte blanche, but the city council can negotiate, the must-haves and the limits. But, I was going to make this point, and you kind of went into it, is the other thing that, I got as a takeaway from all of this, but really kind of hit home yesterday at the presentation, is that ideas and opinions, personal opinions of what should be done with that 600 Boardwalk property really have to stop. This isn't a city community center that's being built and you want the residents' input, right? It's a privately owned property. And yes, it's on the boardwalk. And yes, it has current restrictions on zoning. I get that. But it's still privately owned property. And nobody can just tell a property owner what they should do with the property. And again, within, parameters, there's zoning. So we have to change the zoning to allow a hotel to be built. But he wants to build the hotel that he wants to build. And Joe Schmo down the street shouldn't have, unless, as Dave Cates said at the presentation, unless it's your money, keep your opinion to yourself, right? If it's not your money, keep your opinion to yourself. So having said that, Tom, I love your idea. The city should lean into this thing. We have that parking lot. We have that section of dune and beach between the parking lot and the boardwalk. Obviously building a pier out into the ocean is a much heavier lift and a much larger expense. So that's kind of a little bit down the road, but let's go. Right? As you made a great point. It shouldn't just be the gem of the boardwalk. It should be the gem of the town.
Yeah. Like, look at what the Flanders did back when that was built. They built the huge pools out front. They did all this stuff.
That was the gem of the town in 1920. What was it? 24,
100 years ago. 100 years ago.
Yeah, that was the gem of the town.
I think it was called the jewel of the Jersey Shore, or the gem of the Jersey Shore. I should really know that one. I'm sorry that I don't. Still, though, that's the opportunity that we have here. We have to we got to lean in. My 80-year-old grandmother said to me, when she turned 80, God rest her soul, I said, "What's the one thing that change is inevitable? Change is the only thing that's going to happen forever in life." And we're at a point where we have change. So let's lean into it. Let's embrace it. Let's stop bickering with each other. And I think you made a good point, Drew. It's just put your opinions aside. Everyone's got an opinion. Just let it be. Lean into it. And just the blue laws. That was a great point too, Drew, that you made. 40 years ago, we were saying the same thing, that if we got rid of this, the town would change. We'd all be, drinking booze on the boardwalk, and, we'd lose our identity. And that hasn't happened.
It didn't happen. We're a better place today than we were then. So, I feel for the 7 members of city council, because whatever they do, there's going to be a third of the people that won't like them, right?
More than that.
What's that?
More than that. I think there'll be a third of the people that don't like you. There are a third will be the people that'll be happy, and the third will people will just be like, "Thank God, can we talk about something else?"
Yeah. Keith Hartzell probably is stuck in the worst position, because his ward, he represents both that neighborhood and the boardwalk merchants, right? But I believe that if the 7 members of council got together and said, "Let's get behind this," they approve it, that again, a third of the population is not going to like them. But you got to do what's right for the city.
Well, listen, I don't know. Maybe we can get a time traveler to come back in time, tell us what happens, so that we can know what the right decision is. But until then, I don't know. I don't know what the right decision is. Personally, though, I feel that we should lean into it. That's my opinion. At this point, lean into it. Make it the gem of the town. Make that whole area something that would draw people in all the time. For Santa Monica Pier is not that great. How many people come from all over the world to go to the Santa Monica Pier?
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
So interesting, Dom. The first podcast we did on this episode, on this topic.
Did I mention that?
No, no.
Maybe.
But it was the fall of 2024, I believe. Yeah, fall 2024, when it was before. I think it was before Wonderland actually closed, and you were for the hotel. I was against the hotel, right?
Yeah.
And over time, I think you went from being a supporter of the hotel to maybe not so much, to we got to move forward. Let's do a hotel. I did the same thing, and I think a lot of people in town.
I don't know if I'm not saying like if we're gonna do a hotel and we're gonna do this, then like I said, lean into it. Like figure out a way to take this presumably beautiful building that's going to be built and capitalize on it. Like capitalize on making that whole area something different. Like if he's going to be and this goes back to what you said before, we shouldn't be telling a private land owner what to do with their land. All right, if this is what you want to do, then here's what we're going to do, because we have an opportunity to do something pretty cool to make sure that, hey, let's say you do only get 6 stories. I'm going to make it work because I'm going to keep your occupancy as high as I can by developing this with you and work with you instead of, again, not so much against you, but instead of, here's me, here's you, right? If you're watching on YouTube, I have my hands up in the air. Instead of being here's me, here's you, let's hold hands. Let's work together and figure out how we can make that whole area good, how we can find money to do those kind of things, because I'm sure it's out there. So
let's go.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I remember, and then, listening to 2050 and some of the other people talk about it, I'm like, okay, yeah, those make sense. And then listening to other people talk about it, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like, there's 2 hours out.
When you flesh all that out, and 16 months later, this is where we are.
You're still in the same spot, basically, just with different information.
You're nowhere.
Yeah.
But the man owns the property. He wants to build a hotel, a luxury hotel, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have changed their thinking about this and support it now. Including myself. Not necessarily a hotel, but progress is what we really need, and what the frustration is revolving around right now. Yeah, so let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I will, because I was going to say bring in a whole nother can of worms, but I'll keep my mouth shut right now. And they weren't bad worms. I was going to bash anybody, but we'll leave it at that. Where 16 months later, the only thing that's changed is our opinions, which really helps everyone.
Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Our thoughts.
Thanks for listening to our public therapy session here today. We do appreciate it. We appreciate all your support over the past couple of years. And as this continues to move forward, we'll be here giving you try to be as unbiased as we can at this point. But, it's hard when there's so much at stake, and
It is hard.
There's so much that still needs to be done, and so much that's still uncertain. So
It is hard to be unbiased, and sometimes we fail at that. So
because
sorry.
we are but human people, just like
Yes.
everyone else. Well, this has been the OCNJ Local, your podcast for everything happening here in America's greatest family resort. We're your hosts, Dominic Dougherty and Drew Fasy. And Drew, before we go, the most important thing: who wins the Super Bowl?
I'm going Seattle.
What's your score?
My score is, I hadn't thought about it, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to say 28-17.
28-17 Seattle. There you have it, folks. Get on Kalshi. Get on whatever app you use to gamble. I don't know if I'm going to put this out right now, so never mind. We'll be able to hold his feet to the fire tomorrow and see if he got it right.
That's on you, because I don't gamble.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yeah.
Neither do I. So, all right, everybody. Have a good one. Enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, and we'll talk again soon. Peace.
Peace.